Here are the examples of Black Pigeon Speaks plagiarism, not fast forward, and the links to the articles will be in the description.
The U.S. was created in the 17th and 18th centuries by settlers who were overwhelmingly white British Protestants. Their values, institutions, and culture provided the foundation for and shaped the development of the United States up to the present day. And the large majority of Americans see creed as a crucial part of their national identity. The American creed can be recognized by its distinct Anglo-Protestant culture, which includes the rule of law, the right of dissent, individualism, the English language, and the Protestant work ethic. While contributions from other European groups that added and modified the social fabric, think spaghetti and St. Patrick's Day, for example, the fundamental core that attracted millions with the opportunity and freedom it made possible remained. But the U.S. looks unlikely to duplicate previous successes, and without any change in course, a united country with a single language and culture is slowly changing into a country of two peoples, two cultures, and two languages. One Anglo, the other Hispanic. One English, the other Spanish. Contemporary immigration from Latin America and Mexico specifically differs from past immigration due to a combination of several factors, including contiguity, scale, illegality, regional concentration, persistence, and historical precedents. No other immigrant group in U.S. history has asserted or could assert historical territorial claims of U.S. territory. Mexicans and Mexican Americans can and do. The size, persistence, and concentration of Hispanic immigration tends to perpetuate the use of Spanish through successive generations. Hispanic leaders are actively seeking to transform the United States into a bilingual society. English is not enough, argues Salvador Sato, president of the Spanish-American League Against Discrimination. We don't want a monolingual society. Similarly, Duke University literature professor and Chilean immigrant Ariel Dorfman asks, will this country speak two languages or merely one? And his answer, of course, is that it should speak two. The persistence of Mexican immigration into the United States reduces the incentives for cultural assimilation. Mexican Americans no longer think of themselves as members of a small minority who must accommodate the dominant group and adopt its culture. As their numbers increase, they become more committed to their own ethnic identity and culture. In 1917, former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt said, "We must have but one flag. We must also have but one language. That must be the language of the Declaration of Independence, of Washington's farewell address, of Lincoln's Gettysburg speech, and second inaugural." By contrast, in June 2000, U.S. President Bill Clinton said, "I hope very much that I'm the last president in American history who can't speak Spanish." And it was in May 2001, President George Bush celebrated Mexico's Cinco de Mayo national holiday by inaugurating the practice of broadcasting the weekly presidential radio address to the American people in both English and Spanish. If these trends continue, the cultural division between Hispanics and Anglos could replace the racial division between blacks and whites as the most serious cleavage in U.S. society. This transformation may not be all bad, but it will be the end of America as it's been known in any recognizable form for the past 3 centuries. But Americans should not allow this to happen unless they are sure that this new nation that's being created will be better than the one that it's replacing. And we are already self-censoring. A 2013 survey of U.S. writers found that after the revelations of the NSA's mass surveillance regime, 1 in 6 had avoided writing on topics they thought would subject them to surveillance, and a further 1 in 6 had seriously considered doing so. We've come to fear how our words, opinions, and beliefs may negatively affect our lives if they are misinterpreted or considered unpopular by the masses. Whether a joke is misconstrued or a political position deemed controversial, we have seen the negative effects this sharing can have on individuals' lives, and we've become frightened to share. What is the result of this? We've begun to eliminate the most powerful thing about sharing platforms. We've stopped using them for meaningful social debate because we don't want to risk our livelihoods on what we believe in. Many of us have become either weak or bipolar, strong and boisterous when our passions are ignited about the meaningless, or weak, perhaps even silent, when it comes to our deeper, more meaningful convictions. If it's not well favored by the masses, we just may shrink. Maybe it's that we understand very clearly the transaction. The internet is free and we wish to keep it that way, so corporations have worked out how to make money out of something we are willing to give them in return: our privacy. We have traded our privacy for the wealth of information the web delivers to us, the convenience of online shopping, and the global village of social media. Remaining unrecognizable and keeping conversations private online is immensely important. It's not just an issue for civil libertarians. Online privacy is crucial for crime victims, whistleblowers, dissidents, and anyone who would like their private matters to stay private. It doesn't matter if you have nothing to hide. Privacy is a right granted to individuals that underpins the freedom of expression, association, and assembly, all of which are essential for a free, democratic society. For decades, the adage went, as California goes, so goes the nation. In the past, this was a message of hope. Now, it's a stark warning. If California was an independent nation, it would be the 17th most unequal country in the world, just between Honduras and Guatemala. In comparison to the social democracies California attempts to ape, Canada, for example, is the 111th. And Norway the 153rd most unequal countries, that is, out of the 176 countries surveyed. First, it incentivizes poverty by rewarding the poor with government handouts that are at times more lucrative and more valuable than what could be obtained by employment. Second, welfare states are expensive. This means higher taxes and therefore slower economic growth and fewer job opportunities for everyone. Finally, like Sweden, like Germany, like the UK, like the Netherlands, California as a welfare state is a magnet for the poor. Whether through domestic migration or foreign immigration, poor people flock to places with generous welfare benefits. Of course, this makes perfect sense from those that seek welfare handouts. It makes absolutely none from the point of view of a taxpayer and the sexual restraint they observed. Unwin's impetus for the project was to test the Freudian theory that civilizational progress was the product of repressed sexuality. He found that discipline in sexual matters appropriated social energy to more civilizational ends. It's very complicated, but for Unwin, the fabric of society was primarily sexual, and heterosexual monogamy was the optimal arrangement for the planning, building, protecting, and nurturing of the family. If enough heterosexual partners made a monogamous commitment, civilizational energy was directed toward promoting the finest societal foundation possible.